Good morning, good morning, good morning. We are in Leviticus chapter 13, and this one goes up to almost 60 verses. I wanted to get through it. This is actually the third part of it. I didn't read as much as I wanted to yesterday, but we're going to get right to it. If a man or a woman has a sore on the head or a man in his beard, then the priest is to examine the sore. If he sees that it appears to be deeper than the skin around it, with yellow thin hair in it, then the priest is to declare him unclean. It is a crusted area, a leprosy of the head or beard. If the priest examines the diseased crusted area and sees that it appears not to be deeper than the skin around it, and without any black hair in it, then the priest is to isolate for 7 days the person with the diseased crusted area. And on the seventh day, the priest is to examine the sore. And if he sees that the crusted area hasn't spread, that it is no yellow hair in it, and that the crusted area is not deeper than the skin around it, then the person is to be shaved except for the crusted area itself, and the priest is to isolate him for 7 more days. On the seventh day, the priest is to examine the crusted area, and if he sees that the crusted area has not spread on the skin and does not appear to be deeper than the skin around it, then the priest is to declare him clean. He is to wash his clothes and be clean. But if the crusted area spreads after his purification, then the priest is to examine him. And if he sees that the crusted area has spread on the skin, the priest is to not look for the yellow hair, for he is unclean. But if the crusted area appearance doesn't change and the black hair grows up in it, then the crusted area is healed. He is clean, and the priest is to declare him clean. If a man or a woman has bright spots on the skin, bright white spots, then the priest is to examine them. If he sees that the bright spots on the skin are dull white, it is only a rash that has broken out in the skin, he is clean. If a man's hair has fallen from his scalp, he is bald, but he is clean. If his hair is bald scalp or forehead, then the priest is to examine him. If he sees that there is a reddish white swelling on his bald scalp or forehead, appearing like a leprosy on the rest of his body, he is a person with leprosy. He is unclean. The priest must declare him unclean. The sore on his head, because of the sore on his head. Everyone who has leprosy sores is to wear torn clothes and unbound hair, cover his upper lip and cry, unclean, unclean. As long as he has sores, he will be unclean. Since he is unclean, he must live in isolation. He must live outside the camp. When leprosy infects an article of clothing, whether it be a woolen or a linen garment, on the threads or the woven parts of either linen or wool, or on a hide or item made of leather, then if the stain on the garment, hide threads, woven parts, or leather items, Then if the stain on the garment, hide, threads, woven end parts, or leather item is greenish or reddish, it is an infection of leprosy, and is to be shown to the priest. The priest is to examine the stain and isolate the article that has the infection for 7 days. On the seventh day, he is to examine the stain. If the stain has spread on the garment, the threads, the woven end parts, or leather, whatever its use, the infection is a contagious leprosy. The garment is unclean. Wow. He is to burn the garment, the threads, the woven in parts of either wool or linen, or the item of leather having the infection, for it is contagious leprosy. It must be burned up completely. But if the priest examines it and he sees that the infection has not spread on the garment or in the threads, woven in parts, or leather item, then the priest is to order that article having the infection be washed and isolated for 7 more days. The priest is to examine it after the stain has been washed, and if he sees that the stain has not changed in color, or even though the stain has not spread, it is unclean. You are to burn it up completely. It is rotten, no matter whether the spot is on the outside or the inside. If the priest examines it and sees that the stain has faded after being washed, then he is to tear the stain out of the garment, whether garment, leather, threads, or woven parts. If it appears again in the garment, threads, woven in parts, or leather item, it is contagious, and you are to burn it completely, the article that had the stain. But if the infection is gone in the garment, the threads, the woven parts, or the leather item that you wash, then it is to be washed a second time, and it will be clean. This is the law concerning infections of leprosy in a garment of wool or linen, or in the threads, or in the woven parts, or in any leather item, when to declare it clean and when to declare it unclean. I don't know about you, but I love it. I do, because I know that people did not pay attention to these things, and diseases spread it. Even in this country, we have people who don't pay attention, and bed bugs spread and all type of stuff. So our Most High covered it from A to Z to make sure that his people did not have diseases. If that ain't a good relationship to be in, I don't know what one is. That's my time. I love you. He definitely loves you. You will have a great day. Peace.